What makes someone truly handsome? Is it the perfect symmetry of their features, the sharp line of a jaw beneath a soft glow of light, or is it something more? Could it be the way someone carries themselves, the warmth they radiate without a word, or the quiet magic of a glance that says more than 1,000 speeches ever could? When we talk about beauty in pop culture, we often get caught up in the usual definitions: magazine covers, camera angles, stylistic polish. But sometimes, someone comes along who sees differently. Someone who doesn't just look at faces but looks through them. And that someone is Billie Eilish. Known for her haunting lyrics, ocean-deep eyes, and a soul that sings of sadness and serenity alike, Billie Eilish has a rare way of sensing energy. She's not swayed by glitter or noise. She listens. She feels. And when she once said in an interview, "I don't just see people, I feel the color of their presence," we realized if Billie ever ranked the most handsome BTS members, she wouldn't be talking about cheekbones or fashion. She'd be describing auras. And so here we are. A list unlike any other. A countdown not based on fan votes, nor filtered Instagram perfection, but a soulful journey into how beauty is perceived through the eyes of one of the world's most intuitively artistic minds. Imagine her walking backstage at an award show, quietly watching BTS laugh together. Imagine her eyes catching those silent moments, the way one member gently guides the others, or the way another tilts his head when he smiles. That's the lens we're using tonight. So turn off the noise. Forget what you know about rankings and visuals. Let's wander into the dreamy, ethereal world where sound becomes emotion, light becomes memory, and every breath feels like a melody. This isn't about who's the most viral or who topped search engines. This is about who made Billie's world feel warmer with just their presence. Each name on this list has a story not just of physical charm, but of emotional resonance. You'll hear whispers of Paris runways, the silent beauty of Japanese photo shoots, the thunderous quiet of stadiums filled with tears and applause. Their faces may be familiar, but tonight, you'll see them again through a new set of eyes, softer, deeper, more vulnerable, because in the world of BTS, beauty isn't something you wear, it's something you carry. And when Billie Eilish peers into that world, she doesn't just pick favorites, she connects to souls. And from those connections, a portrait of handsome is born layered, textured, and completely unforgettable. Are you ready? Let your heart lead the way, because this is not just a countdown. This is a symphony of presence, charisma, and silent emotional impact. 7 souls, 7 moments, 1 unforgettable journey. Let's begin. Number 7. The Gentle Fire. You might not notice him at first in a crowded room. He doesn't demand attention with flamboyance or loud gestures. But stay a little longer. Watch the way his eyes scan the space, calm, observant, grounded, and then it hits you. That warmth you feel isn't from the spotlight. It's from him. It's the silent fire, and that fire is J-Hope. Jungkook, known to millions as J-Hope, is often celebrated for his incredible stage energy, a blazing dancer, a sharp rapper, a bright smile in human form. But Billie Eilish wouldn't start there. She'd start with the stillness, with the contradiction. The man who ignites the crowd with explosive charisma is also the one who bows the deepest, who listens with his entire being, who speaks with eyes more than lips. There's a softness to J-Hope's handsomeness, not in weakness, but in grace. His cheekbones rise like smooth hills when he smiles, creating shadows that catch the light like watercolor painting strokes. His lips curve in a way that feels like a half-kept secret, something beautiful that he's holding back just for you. And those eyes, almond-shaped and soulful, they don't just look at you. They look into you. Imagine Billie backstage, watching J-Hope lean against a wall, hoodie slightly tugged over his head, one earbud in, head bobbing gently to a beat only he can hear. He's not performing, not smiling for cameras, he's simply being. And in that stillness there's beauty, there's peace. There's the kind of presence that makes you realize this is someone who carries light, not just reflects it. Remember the Louis Vuitton Paris runway, the way Hoseok walked with such casual royalty? He wasn't just modeling clothes, he was reshaping what it means to be dignified. Every movement was precise, every glance confident, but never arrogant. Vogue France described him as walking like a poem that just learned how to dance. And honestly, that's exactly what he is. Fans often talk about his sunshine aura, and it's real. But Billie wouldn't call it sunshine. She might say he's the golden hour. That magical time before sunset when everything feels warmer, gentler, more honest. Not loud like noon, not mysterious like midnight, but glowing with silent clarity. You don't chase it, you just stop and bathe in it. And when he laughs, when he laughs, it's as if a door opens somewhere deep inside you. Not just because it's pure and free, but because it comes from someone who has known exhaustion, fear, pressure, and chosen to respond with joy anyway. That, Billie would say, is beautiful. In fan meetings, you'll see him kneel down to speak to young fans. He adjusts his tone when speaking to older fans, always respectful. He remembers names. He gives without asking. Not because it's required, but because it's who he is. That humility, that human elegance, it's the kind of charm that lingers far longer than perfect skin or symmetrical features. J-Hope's handsomeness doesn't shout, it whispers, it comforts, it stays with you, like the smell of a warm sweater or the echo of a song your mother used to hum. It reminds you that beauty isn't just in being seen, it's in making others feel seen. So while he may be number 7 on this list, make no mistake, this is a man whose soul glows like embers, quiet, consistent, and full of life, the kind of fire that never burns out. But if you think that was breathtaking, wait until you see number 6. Number 6. The hidden charmer. He's the type of person who doesn't just walk into a room, he quietly shifts its atmosphere. He doesn't need to speak loudly, nor does he seek the spotlight, but once you notice him, you can't look away. His presence unfolds slowly, like a scene in a black and white film that suddenly turns into color. And that's the enchantment of Min Yoongi, also known as Suga. To the world, he's BTS's lead rapper, the fierce producer behind iconic beats, the mastermind whose musical fingerprints touch everything from tear-stained piano melodies to thunderous bass lines. But if Billie Eilish were to describe him, she might not use words like cool or talented. She might simply say he's a mystery, a beautifully complex one. His face tells stories even when his lips don't move. That low gaze, often veiled beneath platinum blonde or raven black strands, hides 1,000 thoughts. His jawline, carved like it was sculpted in the quiet hours of dawn, holds a calm strength. And his skin smooth, pale, occasionally kissed by the faintest blush of stage light, gives him an almost cinematic glow, as though he were painted under moonlight. But his real charm? It's in contrast. Suga moves like silence in a world of noise. When others rush, he lingers. When chaos surrounds, he centers. Billie would probably see him like a forgotten room in an old house, untouched, beautiful, full of echoes and hidden warmth. You don't get to know him quickly, and that's what makes it so rewarding. The longer you stay, the more you feel. There's that famous moment in the Wings era, his solo stage for First Love. Alone with a grand piano, under a single spotlight, he plays like he's remembering something he hasn't spoken aloud in years. His hands tremble, his breath catches, and the audience holds theirs. It was then that fans understood. Suga doesn't just perform music, he is music, a living instrument of emotion. Physically, his beauty defies the expected. He doesn't chase trends, he creates presence. Whether in an oversized black hoodie or a sharply tailored Valentino suit, he looks like he belongs not because the clothes define him, but because he defines the space around him. Fans call him a cat prince, elegant, distant, hypnotic. And Billie? She might say he's the kind of beauty that only reveals itself when the world goes quiet. There's an interview where he smiles just a little and says nothing for 5 full seconds. The journalist waits, the room waits, and finally, he speaks not because he wants to, but because he means to. That wait, that deliberation, that's what makes every word from him feel sacred. In a culture of noise, his silence is golden. In fan interactions, he's known for a gentle humor, for unexpectedly reaching out when someone needs comfort, for eyes that soften when he sees something fragile. It's not showy, but deeply felt. There's a reason why fans say he sees everything. Because he does. Maybe not always with his eyes, but always with his soul. Billie Eilish might describe his beauty the way you describe a stormy sky before sunrise. Brooding, heavy with truth, but also soft, vulnerable, human. She'd say he doesn't look like a typical pop star, and that's the point. He looks like someone real. And that's what stays with you. Because Min Yoongi doesn't try to be handsome. He just is. In the way he thinks. In the way he pauses. In the way he allows emotion to exist in his silence. That kind of allure doesn't fade with time, it grows stronger the more you pay attention. So here he stands, at number 6. Unbothered. Unchanged. Unforgettable. But the path ahead is only getting brighter. If this was the quiet mystery, prepare yourself for the cinematic spectacle of number 5. Number 5. The Golden Frame. There are some people who look like they were painted under sunlight, their every movement kissed by warmth, their smile framed by the kind of glow that can't be faked. With him, it's not just about good looks. It's about radiance. A kind of inner shimmer that touches everyone in the room, even when he's standing still. And that's why Kim Taehyung, the artist we know as V, is more than a pretty face. He's a living portrait. If Billie Eilish ever crossed paths with him backstage, say, at a fashion gala or a smoky jazz bar in Paris, she wouldn't say he was handsome. She might say he was cinematic. as if his soul had been dipped in gold and wrapped in velvet. His cheekbones could rival classical sculptures, yes. His eyes? Deep, slanted, mysterious, the kind of eyes that make you stop mid-sentence because you feel like they're watching the part of you that you try to hide. But Taehyung's beauty doesn't sit on his features, it flows through his existence. There's this moment captured during the 2021 Grammy red carpet where he turned, slowly, deliberately, toward the camera. One eyebrow raised, a smirk dancing at the corner of his lips, a single strand of hair falling effortlessly over one eye. And the world collectively gasped, not because he was trying to be iconic, but because he simply was. Vogue wrote, "If elegance had a face, it might look like this exact frame," and they weren't exaggerating. But what makes Taehyung's charm so uniquely piercing is the way he mixes contrasts. He wears vintage Celine with the ease of a 1,960 seconds French film star, yet dances like a boy possessed by rhythm. He'll stare into space like he's remembering a dream, and then suddenly burst out laughing like a child who just found a puppy. That balance between poised and playful, between untouchable and totally human, is what makes people fall in love with him again and again. In quiet moments, he hums to himself, jazz, mostly. Sometimes old Korean ballads. He carries around disposable cameras, takes candid photos of shadows, reflections, flowers in empty lots. Beauty, to him, isn't about perfection, it's about noticing. Billie Eilish, who once said she prefers things that don't look edited, would see in Taehyung a kindred spirit, someone who appreciates the grain of imperfection, the soul of silence, the truth in stillness. His performances are no less intoxicating. In Singularity, draped in black silk, V moved like smoke across the stage, each step slow, almost reverent, each gesture curved like calligraphy. That night, the spotlight didn't just follow him, it bowed to him. It understood that in his presence, beauty isn't about flashing lights, it's about gravity. He makes fans cry without trying. There's a clip from a fan meeting where he quietly bent down to tie a young fan's shoelace, not because cameras were on, they weren't, not because he was performing, just because he noticed. And, in that gesture, you see the true essence of his handsomeness. It's not sculpted, it's felt. Taehyung is the kind of person who, if you met him only once, would stay with you forever. Like a melody you can't forget. Like the golden frame that holds your favorite photograph, not because the picture is perfect, but because the feeling inside it never fades. So here he stands at number 5, a place that feels both surreal and somehow inevitable, like destiny quietly applauding from behind the curtain. And yet, the stage ahead only glows brighter. Because number 4 is waiting, and with him comes a beauty that feels like the calm before a storm. Number 4, the quiet thunder. He stands still, and the world leans in. You know the type, the one who rarely raises his voice, yet when he speaks, the entire room feels like it's holding its breath. That's Kim Namjoon RM, the silent crescendo of BTS. The kind of handsomeness that doesn't just walk with you, it follows you. At first glance, you might be tempted to focus on his towering height, the sculpted lines of his face, or the way his dimple appears like a plot twist in a love story. But Billie Eilish wouldn't stop there. No, she'd notice something deeper. The weight of his thoughts, the patience in his presence, the kind of beauty that reveals itself like a slow piano intro in a song that eventually breaks your heart in the best way possible. Namjoon isn't just handsome, he's thoughtfully handsome. Imagine a smoky cafe in Berlin. He's by the window, journal in hand, soft scarf around his neck, eyes staring out into the drizzle. That's the image that sticks. He doesn't need to move to be memorable. He exists like a verse you underline in a book you can't lend out, because it's too personal. There's a timeless elegance to him. His profile, sharp yet gentle, holds echoes of Greek sculpture. His gaze carries the weight of thousands of unspoken poems. His hands, large, articulate, expressive, like they were meant to hold both microphones and metaphors. And when he smiles, it's not just a facial movement, it's a release. Like tension leaving your chest. Remember that speech at the United Nations? Wearing a perfectly cut black suit, eyes focused, voice firm yet vulnerable. That day, millions didn't just see a pop star, they saw a leader, a thinker. A boy who'd grown up into someone the world needed to hear from. Billie would call that moment aesthetic justice, the perfect face delivering the perfect words to a world that too often forgets how to listen. His beauty, much like his lyrics, isn't loud, it's layered. You find it in the way he adjusts his collar before a performance, in the gentle smile he gives a shy fan, in the way he bows his head when receiving applause not out of habit, but out of deep, real gratitude. There's footage from a behind-the-scenes shoot a candid moment where he fixes the collar of a fellow member, then quietly steps back, letting them take the spotlight. No words, no attention drawn, just a subtle, quiet act of care. That's Namjoon, always supporting, always present, like thunder you don't hear but feel rumbling through your bones. His sense of style is equally poetic. Earth tones, soft fabrics, clean lines, clothes that don't scream but whisper elegance. And when he walks slightly heavy-footed, as if he's grounding himself in the earth, it's like watching a statue come to life. Fans often say he's the kind of man you fall in love with at a bookstore, the one who hands you a novel without a word, just a nod, and somehow you know it's exactly what you needed. That kind of emotional telepathy, that's where his handsomeness truly lives. And perhaps Billie, watching from the shadows, would whisper to herself, he's not the storm, he's the sky before it, vast, open, impossible to ignore. So here he stands, at number 4. Not to be adored from a distance, but to be understood up close. A quiet thunder that never demands, but always leaves its mark. But if you think you felt the full force of beauty already, you might want to hold your breath. Because number 3 is coming, and with him arrives the kind of charm that makes the stars blink in awe. Number 3. The celestial flame. There are moments in life when beauty doesn't feel earthly, when it doesn't feel like something born from lighting or filters, but something woven from stardust. There are people whose very appearance seems shaped by the galaxy shimmering, burning, endlessly graceful. And that is where Park Jimin lives, not just in the world we see, but in a realm slightly above it. A celestial flame in human form. To say Jimin is handsome is almost too simple. It doesn't capture the nuance, the contradiction, the softness in his smile that masks an intensity so raw it nearly overwhelms. His face, delicate yet defiant, is like a sculpture made of silk and steel. His features, the bow-shaped lips, the porcelain skin, the fox-like eyes that narrow into emotion, they don't simply exist, they perform. If Billie Eilish ever watched Jimin from the side of the stage, she wouldn't describe what she saw in terms of dance moves or camera angles. She'd say it looked like the air itself curved around him. Like gravity had been bent by grace, like watching fire float. There's a moment 2018's Fake Love performance at the Mamas, red light, black lace, and there's Jimin, spinning mid-air in a solo that blurred the line between man and spirit. The audience didn't cheer, they gasped, because it wasn't choreography anymore, it was transcendence. And when his feet finally touched the floor, it felt like the world had just landed again. His beauty is fluid. One day, angelic. The next, magnetic. Billie would call him mercurial in the most mesmerizing way. He doesn't just shift looks, he becomes them. In one shoot, he's innocence in white. In another, he's desire wrapped in leather and eyeliner. And in every version, he's still Jimin. Unmistakable, unreplicable. He walks differently, almost like he's walking on a stage, even in an airport. His steps are small, almost shy, yet his posture says, I'm meant to be seen. There's something in the way he turns his head slowly, with purpose that feels rehearsed by the stars. His fingers brush his hair like it's part of a ballet. Even his laugh, breathy, gentle, genuine, feels choreographed by the universe. There's a video, low quality, grainy, taken by a fan during a tour. Jimin is exhausted, sweat-soaked, about to exit the stage, but he sees a young girl crying in the front row. He pauses, kneels, points at her, smiles. It's not grand, it's not broadcast, but it's real. And that's the paradox of Jimin. He feels like a dream, yet he always reaches for others first. He's the fire that warms, never burns. And that duality, that impossible balance of ethereal beauty and human kindness, that's what makes him breathtaking. He's the idol that artists draw, the muse that poets imagine, the name that fans whisper not with fanaticism, but with reverence. And yet, when he bows, and he bows so low, it's as if he still doesn't know what the world sees in him. Or maybe he does, and he's just choosing to remain humble inside the storm. Park Jimin isn't number 3 because he lacks the power of number 1. He's here because his beauty transcends ranking, because it feels less like comparison, and more like admiration for a force of nature we're lucky enough to witness. He doesn't try to shine. He was simply born with starlight in his chest. So we move forward, breathless, dazzled, our senses still glowing. But what's next? If Jimin is the flame in the night sky, then number 2 is the ocean under it, endless, mysterious, and impossibly deep. Number 2, the midnight ocean. Some beauties scream, others sing, but his whispers. It calls to something quiet inside you, that hidden part of your soul that longs to be understood without explanation. Jungkook, the youngest member of BTS, isn't just handsome, he's haunting. He's the kind of beautiful that stays in the corners of your mind, long after the lights go out. You could describe his face, the golden ratio jawline, the perfect symmetry, the sharpness of his nose, the way his lips part like he's on the edge of saying something unforgettable. But that wouldn't be enough. Billie Eilish wouldn't start there. She'd start with the silence around him, the way he waits, the way he watches, the way his presence unfolds like smoke curling from a candle, soft, unpredictable, and impossible to ignore. In the early days, his charm was wrapped in innocence, a boy with bunny cheeks, and a voice that shook like a flower in wind. But now, he's grown into something more elemental, a storm in slow motion. His body, carved by discipline and dance. His stare, unwavering. And yet, still, always, the boy who sings like his heart is breaking in real time. There's that unforgettable My Time stage on his solo tour, purple lights cascading over his sweat-soaked figure, vocals raw, eyes closed like he's remembering a version of himself we'll never get to meet. And that's his magic. Jungkook doesn't just perform. He becomes the moment. You don't just watch him, you feel him. His visuals are almost unfair. The long lashes that frame his gaze like dark velvet. The way his skin, under even the harshest lights, still looks soft enough to melt. His tattoos, each one a story, a rebellion, a whisper of identity in a world that demands masks. There's poetry in his appearance, in the way he pulls a hoodie over his head during rehearsals and yet looks like the centerpiece of an art exhibit. Billie, with her sensitivity to presence, might say Jungkook looks like the moment just before a song begins, that fragile, loaded silence. That breath you hold, not knowing what's coming, only knowing it's going to matter. There's a moment in a documentary Jungkook sitting alone backstage, breathing hard after a show, towel draped over his shoulders, sweat glistening on his temples. He's exhausted, spent. But his eyes, they glow, not with pride, but with purpose. He doesn't do this for attention. He does it because he must, because art flows through him like the sea under moonlight. And then there's the way he connects, how he leans in when fans cry, how he jokes gently when others grow tense, how he breaks into uncontrollable laughter, throwing his head back, like the world just told its best joke. His beauty isn't polished. It's lived in, real, a little messy, always magnetic. In fashion, he's a chameleon, rugged one day, delicate the next. Sleeveless black shirts that show a body built from sweat and discipline. Then a soft cardigan, hair curled, eyes tender, a child again. His duality is dizzying. Billie might say, he's the kind of person who could wear the same outfit 10 days in a row, and it would look like 10 different universes. But more than all of this, more than the abs and vocals and cheekbones sculpted by the gods, Jungkook's handsomeness lies in his vulnerability, in his tears on stage, in his apologies when he feels he could have done better. In the way he bows always so deeply as if trying to shrink beneath the love thrown at him. He's the midnight ocean. Still on the surface, deep beyond comprehension underneath. You'll never reach the bottom of what makes him beautiful, and maybe that's the point. Because just when you think you've seen everything, he changes, evolves, grows, again and again. But now, we reach the end. Or perhaps the beginning, because there's one name left. And to Billie, and maybe to the universe, he isn't just handsome. He's the definition of beauty itself. Number 1. The timeless crown. Some people enter a room and steal the air. Others change the temperature of it. They make the world feel still not because they're loud or commanding, but because their presence whispers to something ancient inside of us. A sense of awe, of reverence, of peace. That is the power of Kim Seokjin, known to the world as Jin. At first glance, you might think it's the face, that impossibly symmetrical face. The high nose bridge, the plush lips, the sparkling eyes that seem to carry stories of both mischief and wisdom. Even Billie Eilish, someone known for her sensitivity to subtle beauty, might freeze in place the moment she meets his gaze, because Jin isn't just handsome. He's timeless. There's something mythic about him, as if he walked out of a painting from another century, untouched by time, holding the essence of a crowned prince who traded thrones for laughter. His features, perfect not in their flawlessness, but in their balance, evoke the kind of visual harmony that human beings are evolutionarily wired to love. But that's just the beginning. Jin doesn't wield beauty like a weapon. He carries it like a gift he's too humble to acknowledge. That's why it's so powerful. His handsomeness is gentle. It doesn't dominate. It invites. And when he smiles, really smiles, it feels like the world exhales. Like the weight we didn't even know we were carrying just lifts. There's a moment from the Boy with Louvre promotions. The group is seated. A host turns to Jin and asks a question. He tilts his head, laughs softly, and answers with a voice that's calm but clear. And in that moment, just a few seconds, the room changes. It softens, it brightens, because his beauty isn't just visual, it's atmospheric. Fans call him worldwide handsome, but that phrase doesn't even come close. He's not worldwide, he's timeless. He's the kind of face you'd see on the walls of a European museum, the subject of 1,000 sonnets, the muse behind a silent photographer's life work. But what makes him number one isn't that face. It's the man behind it. Jin's beauty is rooted in kindness, in humility, in awkward jokes delivered with unshakable sincerity, in his relentless care for his members, in the way he always watches first before speaking. He's the kind of man who will laugh to lighten the mood, even when he's the one hurting. He's the kind of person who gives his warmth away and somehow always has more to give. There's a clip one that fans always return to. A fan, visibly nervous, approaches Jin. She can't speak, tears fill her eyes. Jin takes her hand, just holds it, says nothing, smiles. And she breathes. That's what he does. He reminds people to breathe, to exist, to know that they're seen. Billie would see it immediately. Not just the obvious beauty, but the quiet gravity beneath it. She might describe him like a moon radiant, but reflective. A presence that glows not by absorbing all the light, but by giving it back, softer, gentler, more human. And when Jin sings, when he sings, it's like the universe pauses to listen. There's something about his voice that holds both nostalgia and hope. Like he's singing not to impress, but to comfort. Like each note is his way of saying, I'm here, you're not alone. Even in his stillness, he moves people. He doesn't chase the spotlight. The spotlight chooses him. And not just because of how he looks, but because of how he makes people feel. His beauty isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about the rare, golden peace of someone who doesn't need to prove anything because being himself is enough. And that's the kind of beauty that outlives trends, outlasts youth, outshines the moment. That's why Jin is not just number one. He is the standard. The measure by which quiet power, gentle grace, and unforgettable charm are felt, not just seen, but felt in the deepest, softest part of the human heart. And in the end, isn't that what beauty really is?